What's going on, guys? I'm Bergs, that's Longy, and this is NRL Last Minute Madness, Round 12. What is happening, guys? Bergs and Longy here from The Casual Athlete, back at it again for another week of Last Minute Madness, where we go through the tips, some fantasy analysis, and some big predictions via the TBC Live app that you can download in the description below. It is round 12 this week, and there aren't that many games to talk about, but Longy and I might get into a little bit of origin chatter. We have some differing opinions on the teams, but Longy, from an outside perspective already, what are you thinking about Origin 1 next Wednesday?
I mean, Blues, clean sweep, lock that in. I think we've made a few interesting choices. I think both sides have omitted two very good props here.
Yeah.
So Terrell May for New South Wales, that's pretty easy one, right? Especially with Payne Haas potentially in doubt for this game.
Mm-hmm.
And we got big Corey Horsburgh, not in the Queensland team, and Trent Loiero as a bench prop instead, which I think is quite bizarre. I like Loiero as a player, but I think Horsburgh is just that pure, aggressive, work rate prop, and you'd want him in your team, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I agree with you on both. I think it's two props that got snubbed. The only reason that I can think for both guys is they play a very similar style of football, whereas we've seen the damaging hard runs from guys like Adam Fanua-Blake, like that's his entire game. Spencer Leniu is just hard running. And I think with a game one always being a very close game, errors come into play and they can be very costly at times. And I think that offloads aren't really valued as much in a game one scenario.
That's King really makes the only thing. On that case, Max King makes sense.
Because he doesn't throw offloads.
But Loiero's had a few crucial errors this year.
That's Queensland, though. I'm happy for them to pick guys that don't necessarily
it's pretty wild. I mean, I'm a Horsburgh fan, but look, in fantasy, I'm happy to have him. So
absolutely.
We'll keep on rolling.
I think Horsburgh and Terrell May should have been in the teams, but there is a reason that I guess I came up with that made sense to me a little bit.
Yep.
But
don't offload
again. Yeah.
Don't
offload.
Like
just run hard, and unfortunately, those guys don't do that at Clubland, and they both play big minutes as well. You'd think that they'd be able to play like a 40-minute role. I mean, Terrell May was doing it for his whole career last year.
Locked in
as well. So
we've got a lot of NRL to talk about though before we get to that.
We
do. Doggy's up first. Doggy's missing their entire starting forward pack basically, and half their edges as well. And the Dolphins in this game, and the Dolphins are only being tipped by 23% of people. I think it's insane. I'm jumping on the Dolphins.
Really?
So hard.
There's no hammer though. No hammer.
Like Herbie versus Blake. Herbie versus Blake Taff.
Yeah, I don't love that matchup.
Come on.
I'll tell you from the crux of it right now that right side for the Dogs is in some trouble this week. Blake Taff and a returning Blake Wilson this week. No Karaz. I don't love it either.
It's a 4.3 point tip. Like a 4-point tip for the Dolphins against who are the Dogs? The Dogs are missing everyone. They're missing everyone.
But they are missing like their best player easily. Max Plath still isn't there as well. I think that's something that you've got to take into account. And Tom Gilbert tore his pectoral last week. That's another big out for them. Finny Fuiaki could get called into...
Safidi, Marshall King, Flagler as well.
Finny Fuiaki is also in the Queensland squad. He could get called in at some point. Another guy who probably shouldn't be in the squad, but he's there. And you think that if there is an injury in their back row stocks for Queensland, he could get called in at any time, Finny Fuiaki. But I'm going to get on the Dogs this week. They've proven to me that they can win with anyone on the park. Like, I understand that their spiritual leader isn't there in Stephen Crichton. I think they get a lot from him out on the field, but I just love the matchup of Bronson Jerry on Max Fiernay this week. I think Max Fiernay is not the best defender either. I think that left side has really been cooking this year for the Dogs, whether it be Bailey Hayward or Matt Burton in that 6 role. They've really been getting some good points, good structure together. And I just think this Dog side, they're not easy pushovers either. Like if the Dolphins are going to win this, they're going to have to win it in a tight one because this Dogs defensive structure will still come to the floor, and they get Josh Curran back this week.
I think we need a bit of a wager because I'm confident. I think you're confident too. And I've got the upset here, so I might as well make the wager.
That's fine.
Surely a steak dinner is on the line here.
The steak dinner.
Not a bougie one, I'm talking like a
Outback steak.
That's bottom end. I'm talking something mid-tier,
Yeah. The last time we went to Outback Steakhouse wasn't that great. They won't pick us up after sponsors after saying that. But anyway.
Are you down for that bet, though?
Look, I'm happy to be down for that. As long as my boy Hopoy scores a try. I thought he was outstanding last week when he got more of a chance on the field. Saluka Fafita out of the game pretty early, and he really stepped up. I really like the cut of his jib. I backed him to score a try.
He's
this
a
week.
beast. He's a beast. I like him a lot. I
Yeah.
don't like him for fantasy because I think he loses his spot pretty soon.
He will, yeah.
But I've gone Herbie Farmworth over not 50, not 60,
Not 100.
not 70 or 80, not 90.
100.
I nearly went 120, but I reckon 100 here.
Yeah.
Look, unless they do a late swap and bring Zeri across to that side, which I think is a real possibility.
He could lock him up.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he'd lock him up.
Well,
Like, no one can lock Herbie up. But
Jerry's got the speed. I also think he's been a great defender this year.
he's solid. He's better than Taff, right? But if they leave
Taff
it
at centre is
if they leave it as is, well, they might go Taff to fullback and Connor Tracy to centre. But I think Herbie Cooks, 100+ points, lock it in.
Yeah, I do think it'll be a close one, though. Let's go the Eels and Seagulls next. Now, the Seagulls already beat the Eels this year, and it was without Moses once again. Do you give your boys a hope this week without Moses and Lomax? They're probably their two best players.
I'm feeling pretty cocky, a little bit sassy, as an Eels fan right now. We're on the back of a big win.
You hate Turbo at the moment.
Demolition of the Knights, who the Knights, I've heard, have the best player in the world on their team.
They also have the third best defense, and I think you guys put 28 on them or something like that.
And a coach who is worthy of a multi-year deal. So look, they're a pretty solid team with their head screwed on, and Parramatta destroyed them. So you come again into this game against Manly. Look, I think it's a tough one. No Mitch, being objective, no Mitch Moses, no, Zach Lomax. They're kind of our guys. No Simonson as well.
Kelma Tuolangi comes back in this week. Big fan of that one.
Yeah, we're making
another second rower change.
Maybe it's a revenge game for him against his old club. Would you rather Kelma or Olakawatu? That's the
no, I don't know.
The answer is
I'd prefer Ben Trebojevic over both of them. But
I'm still taking Manly though. Manly, 75% have taken Manly.
Jake Arthur.
I agree. And look, no Trey Evans, but Brooks has been steering the team around in some of their games this year and can do that. And they've got Turbo there who's been disrespected all year. So I think this will be the one game where he really bounces back.
Yeah, it's an odd game where Luke Brooks is the best half out on the field at any point in time.
Wow, Dylan Brown's shade. Okay.
I've actually backed Tom Trebojevic to have a bounce back game in this one. I think I did it a couple of weeks ago, but I think the Blues snubbing might get an injection from Tom, and he loves beating up on bad teams. And let's be honest, the Eels are a bad team, especially without Moses and Lomax.
Without Lomax.
But the one thing that does concern me is that the Eagles have been to Colbank Stadium 6 times. They've only won once since the stadium opened. Yep. So there is a little bit of area concern for me. I don't love the Seagulls. They weren't great last week against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were pretty bad. They only managed to score 24 points. But I think Tom Trebojevic gets 200 metres this week.
It's a fair shout. I mean, I think he didn't get there last week or the last couple of weeks, but
hasn't.
Yeah, he could possibly eclipse that. I'm going to go Ruben Garrick over 55 fantasy points. Goal kicking.
It's a bit of a sheepish prediction from you. Oh, come on, Garrick against the terrible Sean Russell.
I just posted 100 for Herbie, all right? I can take a safe one. I see some fantasy predictions out there and they'll be like, Garrick over 35. Well,
he's averaging 42 or whatever, something like that.
Close to 50.
He'd be close to 50, surely.
Yeah. Anyway, let's
go back and you get 5 more than
55 plus. He's going to pump it. Now, Panthers beat the Knights here, and you're obviously a serial Knights hater. Everyone knows. I thought you're going to deny it. Everyone knows that.
No, I don't have to.
Yeah, the Knights.
I tipped him for the spoon. It's looking all right
It's looking good. Yeah. Big upset this week. 4-pointer. Only 25% of people have taken them. Do you have any temptation at all to go the Knights over Panthers, who are missing Papali'i, Garner, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, Nathan Cleary, and Dylan Edwards?
And they've also not been
Brian
great.
Toll.
And they've also not been great this year as well.
I just named 8 players. That is absolutely crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. The Knights have a weird thing when they play Penrith. Penrith are actually shooting for 10 in a row against the Knights this.
Oh wow.
This week. Actually, there's one draw in there, so it's not 10 in a row. There was a draw
undefeated
in there. I think it was that famous Matt Burton game where Matt Burton had 5 shots at field goal, couldn't get one. But I'm still going to get on Penrith this week. I just think the Knights are so bad. Once again, the halves have changed. Fletcher Sharp moves back to fullback. Maybe he gives them the kind of injection that Ponga hasn't been delivering over the last 5-6 weeks.
Yep.
But I just don't see this Knights team changing too much. My big prediction is that they're going to score 16 plus points this week. That's actually a big prediction.
16, the Knights.
Yep.
16 plus.
Yep.
In a loss?
In a loss.
Are you specifying
yeah.
a loss?
I'm going to say that
Yeah.
Penrith are going to score 20 plus, but the Knights will get to 16.
Okay, if you specify a loss, I don't mind that as a big prediction. I will shout out to, look, Bradman Best out in this game. Greg Marzu's out. Kellen Ponga's out.
There's a bit of strike
Big
missing.
upgrade to fullback. Fletcher Sharp going back to fullback. So
Upgrade.
that's a win, but it's a loss in the halves. I like Fletcher Sharp, man. I'm a big Sharp guy. Safiti's out as well. I'm going to go Newcastle in this game, and it's such a big upset. And the Panthers are missing so many guys. I don't think the Panthers will be bad in this game. I just think that maybe, the intensity of Sharp at fullback flows through. Like, say what you want about Tyson Gamble, but at 6, his intensity actually adds a lot of value. No, I like him at 6. I don't like him at 7.
I just don't like him at all.
Fair enough. I don't
like him in first grade.
Bring a bit of
I'll agree with Willie Mason on that one. I don't like him in first grade.
You can go there. But Dylan Lucas as well. He's back in the back row. I think that's a smart move. I just think they get it done.
How hurt is Dylan Lucas, though?
My hope is not very, but that's a hope for a reason.
It's a hope and a prayer at the moment. Yeah. I don't love Kyle McCarthy and Fletcher Sharp if they're going to be on the same side of the field. That's two very small bodies,
Fletcher
Hunt.
Yes.
Sorry, there's 2 Fletchers.
With mullets.
With mullets,
What's your big prediction here? You got 16 plus?
Yeah, that's the Knights scoring 16 plus, and that's a big prediction this year considering in most of their games they've barely been able to score a try. They couldn't really do it last week against Para. I think it was one flash of attack and they managed to score a try. That was pretty pathetic. They've been pretty pathetic most of the year, the Knights, in the attacking department. They've been terrible, though. And I don't think you can get away from it at this point in time.
Yep. Well, if it's a grind here, my prediction will look better. Big Liam Henry, 55.
I like that he's in second row.
Points. I think so. I looked up numbers. 3 games in the back row, he averages 57 tackles a game.
Dang.
Yeah, in
That's
second
awesome.
row. So 55 plus, I think it's pretty safe.
Are you on the Knights as well?
Knights to win, Henry to make a lot of tackles.
Interesting.
Because Newcastle dominate.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that with a straight face. But
dominate.
I think they win. I think that's straight true.
In their dictionary, the word dominate doesn't exist. But
Gamble scores the winner. Gamble scores the winner.
Get off the Knights.
I'm doubling down. Gamble scores the winner. All right, Saturday night game. Yeah. So obviously we don't have a Saturday day game, that 3 p.m. slot. I love that slot. I'm pretty sad about it. But getting to the evening, Roosters v Sharks. You got the Roosters missing a bunch of players. Just let me list them out here.
5.
Lindsay Collins is out. Spencer Lenu is out. Nafahu White due to injury. Angus Crichton is out with suspension. You've got Nat Butcher just making his return this week, so probably not at full strength. Rob Toya's out. And then obviously Sam Walker is returning pretty soon, but they've been playing without him for a while. I guess if you count Brandon Smith, who departed the club this week, he's one as well.
Yeah.
So, he would have been playing hooker because Connor Watson's out, right? So there's a lot of guys out, whereas Cronulla have basically no touch of origin in their team. They get Herodi back in for Stone Street, which is a slight. I like Stone Street.
Bizarre to say about Cronulla. Everyone considers them this pretty good team, but I think what they do lack is a little bit of top echelon talent aside from front row where they have.
Are you saying this because you're going to tip the Roosters?
I am going to tip the Roosters. Yeah, I'm going to tip the
absurd tip. Oh,
you've already given 2 absurd tips: the Knights and the Dolphins.
Let's make this one a bet.
I like the cut of the Roosters jib, and I think they would have won the game last week had the Dogs given up, because the Dogs are one of those teams that don't give up. The Sharks, however, are one of those teams that give up. If you get any kind of comeback on them, and I know they stopped it last week, but I think they emotionally got up for that game against the Storm, and I tipped it too. I actually tipped the Sharks last week. I don't love their consistency at all. I don't believe that they're over the hump now just because they beat the Storm. And the one thing that this competition has told us all season is to expect the unexpected. And I definitely think the Roosters can win this game this week. Dom Young's back in the team. He has something to prove. I think he'll be pulling out some damaging runs out of the backfield.
Can I throw a question
at you? And Teddy's still there.
Let me throw a question at you. So Adam Fanua-Blake is trucking it up for his 15th run of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Looking up, starting team, Mahesi Makatoa, Feketi.
I don't like
Makatoa, Feketi, and Zach Clay. I like them all as players, by the way, but
not Makatoa.
Who's stopping? Who's stopping Adam Fanua-Blake?
Oh, Radley will cut him down. Big trees fall hard.
Bradley doesn't play 80. So
Radley will also need to go back and look at the film from last week, because I reckon he is the sole reason that they lost that game last week. Radley, his defensive efforts on both Burton and Jerry's tries were terrible.
So when I said who's going to stop Phil Blake, and you said
Radley. That's why I'm
He's
saying
watching
he's
the
having a
film?
bounce back. He's
Okay.
watched the film and he's coming in this
I think
week.
they're going to struggle, mate. Like Nakora on the edge as well, absolutely lethal. I just think we're going to see it all work.
You're banking on so much of the Sharks taking confidence out of last week's game,
Yep,
and
big time.
no doubt they will.
Yep.
But my thing is, they should have come into this year confident. They had Adam Fanua-Blake there. He didn't really start get going until last week, where he came up against what everyone considers the best team in the comp, and he proved that he's the alpha dog out there.
Yeah.
I just think that the level of emotion for a game like this won't match their energy, and they'll drop it.
I guess you talked about the Roosters though. Some weak defensive efforts, a bit closer to the ruck. That feeds into my prediction this week.
Blake
Hines. I'm going Nico Hines. Nico Hines, that running game to wake up 70+ fantasy points. I think he wakes up in this game. I'm not captaining him in fantasy. I'm going Herbie Farmworth, my 100+ boy. But I think Nico has to rediscover it this week because
absolutely
he's playing good footy. Like, he's not playing bad, but there's just a level of aggression and take control that he has that isn't coming out, and I think that's the reason for the sort of lapses that you're seeing there.
Yeah, 100%. I will say though, I do think that Mark Nawaqanitawase in the centres won't be able to stop Kale Iro, and I've got him scoring a double this week.
Oh, I don't know if it's going to be Nawa's fault. Like Nawanga,
it'll be him and Dom Young on the same side of the field.
But I'm not blaming Nawanga. I think Nawanga will do his job. I think he'll be let down by the guys around him.
He's a freak, but I also think that he had a bad game, but it was kind of made up for. Everyone thinks about the try last week, but his efforts on bombs as well were a bit very questionable.
Drops, well, he's at centre this week. So.
Yeah, so he won't have to do that, which I think is a good thing for him. But now he's moved into a different difficulty level, which is defensive reads. And I'm not sure he knows that part of the game.
Yeah. No one stopped Hero either. No one stopped Hero. So
no one stopped Hero.
I don't mind that shout.
Moving on to our last game, we have the Warriors taking on the Raiders. Now, this is possibly the game of the round, easily. I think these two teams are performing well above what I thought everyone had them performing this year, especially for the Raiders. I think that everyone had them towards the bottom of the competition.
They were spoon
a lot of people had them spoon favorites.
This guy put a bet on them at $3.60 to make the top 8.
Yeah, I think you may also have had the Warriors in your top 8 too. Something that I didn't give to them.
I believe it, mate. I like big forward packs.
Well, how do you feel about them this week with no Fisher Harris and Barnett? They're missing their two big boys in the middle. I think they're going to be lacking a lot of punch this week.
They're an upset this week. So 40% have taken Canberra, 60% have taken the Warriors.
Which is bizarre. I'm on Canberra as well.
Yeah. So I'm a big Wise fan as well. But I look at this and I go, all right, you got big Joey Tarpanay, Corey Horsburgh hasn't been picked. They've still got Hosking there. They're missing Hudson Young.
They're missing anyone apart from Hudson Young.
Hudson Young and I guess Nicholson, if you could say by extension. But they're in a good spot there, though, with that forward pack. And you look at the Warriors and you go, all right, no Barnett, no Fisher Harris. You bring in Bunty Afoa. And I like Jackson Ford's work rate, but as a big prop to stop those big boys, I don't see it.
There's no post-contact meters, is there?
Yeah.
There's no
what we're going to
bending
see,
the line back or drawing in defenders.
Aaron Clark is going to be asked, because he's been working hard. Like, Clark has been pumping. He's going to be asked to be that forward leader and take some of those first hit-ups, I think. And I love Aaron Clark, but I think he's better running off the back of Fisher Harris, the back of Barnett.
He's just a little too small for that role, isn't he?
He's creative. He's explosive. So I think he's going to have a tough game here. And he'll get through his work. He'll pump out. Numbers will be fantastic. He won't let anyone down. I think it's just going to be a bit of a tougher game. He's going to come off feeling bruised. And that's what the Warriors have been doing to teams recently. But for that reason, and missing those guys, I'm tipping Canberra.
Yeah, look, I've got to get on Canberra as well.
Of course it's not Waz hater.
Yeah, I know. I copped crap for it again on Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the Warriors fans had a look at who's playing for them this week. And what I said about the Warriors again is still true. They won a game by 4 points last week. They had the game on lock. They were up 16-0, and there was another showing of letting the team back into the game. I don't want to make it sound worse than it is, but they've now won 6 games by less than 8 points, and their point differential is 5. It's +5. They're sitting second on the ladder.
Okay.
Is that a little fake to you, or is it legitimate, their position on the ladder currently?
I think the fact that they've been playing with the injuries they've had and figuring out things makes me think it's legit. But
But that sounds like they're getting away with a few victories, and no doubt that knock-on call last week was ridiculous.
Yes, and the knock-on was crazy. But I think they haven't fully evolved to their final form.
Not at
So
all.
I look at them and I go, right, this halves pairing is young. They're doing different things every week, and they're evolving and getting better every week, right? Wade Egan's at a different level. Like this forward pack hasn't really played together completely. Like Halasima wasn't the starter in week 1.
No.
And look at him now. He's an 80-minute back rower. They don't have the center spot covered yet. Capewell's still playing center, which I find a little odd. Yeah. Leah Tower is a freak. So when he comes back,
he should come back.
It adds an element to that team. So I think they're at second. I think you're right. They've probably gotten away with a couple of wins that were close ones, but you got to win the close ones, right? Yeah. But I think they have another gear to go to. So I view them as a edge of the top 4, top of the, maybe 4th, 5th kind of team.
Yep.
Who hopefully earns a home final or a second chance in the finals.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just about blowing teams out of the water. Like I love to see the ability to turn it on rather than just kind of hang on in a close victory. And I think that can work for you most of the season. I think we saw the Storm do a lot of it last year. They won a lot of close games. They found ways to get out of teams that were snatching victory from the jaws of defeat a lot of the time. And that can get you very far. Got the Storm all the way to the grand final last year. But at what point does it become not sustainable? Because luck can turn very easily. And I think that's the point I want to highlight here is that they've won 6 games by very close margins that could have probably been decided by a call here or a call there. Yep. One try, the difference. It's you're leaving yourself vulnerable to that.
I get what you're saying. They kind of feel like a team who has that insanely bright future next year.
Yeah.
Right? Like kind of like the Dogs last year where they were really tough and they really pumped.
Well, they're defending really well
great this year, right? Yeah. I think they're like the Dogs last year. So it's the spine in particular is sort of gelling there. So anyway, in this game, I'm going Canberra. In terms of predictions, I've jumped on Tommy Starling to have 55 plus fantasy points. I think that middle forward rotation that we were talking about there is a big advantage for Canberra. I think Tommy Starling plays 80 minutes, and I think he has a bit of an attacking day in this one.
Yeah, I love what Tom Starling. I love that kick he put in for Savage last week too. Just the eyes up to see that.
Tom Starling.
Yeah, big fan. I wish he went to somewhere else. Well, my team needs a hooker. Your team needs a hooker.
Yeah. Him and Riley rotating. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think Riley Smith is also a good pickup for you guys as well. So give me him because we're losing Robson. I don't know who's going to play there next year.
Granville's coming back, mate.
Anyway, in this one, I'm also getting on the Raiders. I think they'll win at 13 plus. That's my big prediction. At the moment, they're currently outsiders, so not a lot of people think that way. Maybe there's just a lot of Wars fans who have TBC at this point in time. But guys, that is it for our round 12 video. Let me know what you think. Let Longy know if he's wrong as well. We love to hear about it down in the comment section.
That I'm wrong.
Oh, so come on.
Maybe I
cop it every week.
Let you know that you're wrong.
And fair enough.
Stick with my tips as gospel, I think, is the is the play. I should have tipped the Warriors.
I'm actually not doing that bad in tipping comps, but people are saying that, my tips are terrible. And then I'm just like...
Nah, mate, you're going well.
After last week, I'm actually winning one of the tipping comps I'm in. I know. There's a little bit of positivity.
You're a financially positive tipper every year. And guys, if you jump into TBC, the prizes are epic as well. So jump in there, get your tips in. Do some upsets with us. That's why we're going for them. Big points on offer.
Absolutely. Guys, download TBC Live. The link is in the description. And we'll catch you on the next one.